Hola, buenos días, bienvenidos, bienvenidas a otra sesión de Europe Calls desde la oficina Europa Creativa Media Catalunya, donde acercamos las ayudas de media al sector cultural y, por supuesto, audiovisual, objetivo del programa. Nos parece importante que una de las partes que el sector siempre nos demanda es qué hay en formación. Nos pareció oportuno acercaros una iniciativa de formación que es quizá de las más veteranas que ha recibido ayuda de media a lo largo de los años, conjuntamente creo que con EAVE, que es la iniciativa Sources. Sources tiene, entre otros mentores y tutores, a Arash T, que nos acompaña esta mañana para hablar un poco del programa, de las oportunidades que nos brinda y de incentivar la participación de proyectos europeos y, por qué no, españoles en esos talleres. And now it's time to welcome to our audience to one of the sessions by Creative Media Europe Desk Catalunya that we are quite often to approach the calls of support to the cultural and audiovisual sector. Today is about training. Today is about Sources. The program Sources has been a very senior initiative in the panorama of the training initiative supported by media in Europe. And thank you for being with us, Arash T. Riahi. Welcome and good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you for inviting me. Again, I wish I could be with you there in Barcelona, like some other times. So it's great to be here, and I'm welcome to explain everything that is to be explained about Sources.
Yeah, that's the purpose. This is everything happens online. Looks like online it's here to stay, and from our point of view, we have to be entertaining. So try to keep this conversation like just two friends that we work in the business, and we are discussing the opportunities of a fabulous program for the audience that are so kindly following us this morning. So just to start, a main question, because always it's about once upon a time. Once upon a time, like more or less 26 years ago. Tell us, which is the goal of Sources? Which is that thing that makes Sources to start and to be in the business, media supported, in the business of a script writing? How it was?
Yeah, I can tell it from my point of view because I started to know Sources as a director myself. I developed myself three different films with Sources. One fiction film, and that was my own fiction film called For a Moment Freedom, which was in 2010, the Austrian Oscar entry, and then two other documentaries, creative documentaries that I developed there as a director, and that was before 2010. And then since 2010, I became myself an advisor. And what I really love in Sources is that I mean, I have been in a lot of different workshops as a participant or tutor or something else, but what is Sources 2 making so unique is that Sources 2 takes care, there is not a method that you use for all films. Every project is treated as, let's say, a human being that is different. And this is one of the few workshops where it's not about the business side of it. It's not about the producing. It's not about meeting some other producers and kind of financing your film and so on. It goes back to the core that will make your film unique, and that's the script and the story. So storytelling is the main thing there. You're coming to a Sources workshop, you will be nowhere maybe in the north of Norway. Nothing is around you. You just sit there 1 week with colleagues in a group and concentrate to work on your story, and everyone is helping you to make your story best.
So
that's not so many times happening.
So now tell us how it works. Sources has three different type of training courses. We're gonna focus in this first 20 minutes in the development workshop, which is the package. What a script writer and or director and or producer all together by teams can find during how many days, and which is the content, which is the package?
So apply with a treatment or a script that should be not in a complete early stage, but it should you should have worked on it a little bit. You apply with that. If you are selected, you will be 1 week in a workshop, and you will be with 3 to 4 other projects in one group. You will have a group leader. There are 2 other groups also. It can be only fiction. It can also be a mix of fiction and creative documentaries. And within this 1 week, or there is a compact workshop that is a little bit shorter, 4 days or 5 days, you work every day on your script together with the group. You give feedback to the others, you get feedback back, and it's moderated by the dramaturg, by your group leader. And after that week, people go back home, and there is a 3-month period of online consultation. So if you have a new draft, if you have some questions, whatever, you can contact your advisor. You can also send it to the group, to the others. If they have time, they will look at it, give you feedback. And then after these 3 months, there is again a second meeting, a so-called follow-up meeting, normally 3 to 4 days. And this meeting is normally where your advisor is, and there you meet again, you present the new work, you discuss it, and that's the main workshop. You can still, of course, stay in contact with everyone, or book singular sessions with your advisor.
Great. I have to say to all of our audience and for you, we have a greeting of Ellie and Angelo for you. They said, "So nice to see you, Arash." So
Nice.
Effie and Angelo, say hi to Effie and Angelo. Keep going. It's oh, by the way, if you have, I mentioned about the greetings of Effie and Angelo, but you have any questions, please write it down. YouTube channel, and I can read it here. And if goes with the storytelling now, I can place it. Otherwise, at the end of the session, around 10:50, we can make questions to Arash. Keep going. When we define the team that it's applying to sources, it's about script writing and or director, and can be backed up by a producer. But which is the right moment? They have, because it's about the content. Would you, in your opinion, it's more addressed for the content, that it's really important for the media applications in development call, or has as well an aspect about if the project has a little bit of finance, or they've been already out in the market trying to find stakeholders? Which is your opinion? In my opinion is that the content is for script writers, but you can attend if you obviously if you have a director appointed, or if a script writer is appointed. Tell me what you think, because sometimes it's a common question that we receive in our desk and our offices.
So intentionally, we made it open. It's not a workshop where you need to have a producer, but it's a workshop where you need to have a writer, of course. So we want to make it open, and we want to make it clear that the writers who don't have a producer yet can also apply, because sometimes they are the ones who really need help, because they are alone sitting in their room writing their scripts, and they need feedback, and they maybe don't want to go to the first producer who is interested. They maybe want to develop their script to something that is even like has more potential and so on, and maybe is interesting for international producers and so on. So our goal is to improve the story that the writer directors want. And of course, if a story is very, let's say, commercially inapproachable, we don't care, but we make the people aware of the fact that what they are doing might not have a lot of audiences, but of course it's great. It can be a great art piece. It can be in an A festival, whatever. So our goal is not to streamline anything. That's very important, I think, because script doctoring or script advising and so on has sometimes also a bad image that the scripts are streamlined. You know, that you take the dramaturgy of McKee or whatever, and just put it on it and say, okay, plot point one, plot point two, and so on and so on. This is not how we work. So we take every script, we take every author, we look at the whole setting, surrounding, personality, and so on, and then we try to understand what does the author for a film want, and then we try to nourish that creativity with different tactics, methods, and so on and so on, to get there where the person wants to be.
Great. Which brings me to another question. Since it's a very collaborative team. I mean, working in a group. How you are mixing documentary and fiction? Groups in this case are mixed, or I mean, they are participating as well of the fiction projects, having the point of view of a creative documentary. Because I think it's an interesting.
In former times we had.
In this case, the business is evolving, where there is no difference sometimes between documentary and fiction, because it's very delicate line, specifically in our house. So
Exactly. That's so we are kind of we have sometimes pure documentary groups, but most of the times we have this kind of sometimes mixed groups, because I think that first of all, the hybrid genre is now much more common than maybe in former times. We have festivals like CPH Docs in Copenhagen that is really concentrated on that. You have other festivals who are kind of working in that field, and also a lot of fictional films are based on real events. So when we kind of set up a group, we try to combine documentaries and fiction films that have something in common. So documentaries maybe that are hybrid, or fictional films that are based on real events, which has to kind of absorb story elements out of the real event to make it a functioning story. So it's both. You know, if you have a documentary that is a cinema documentary, you have to understand how you want to make it, how do you want to do the storytelling. The storytelling can be like a fiction film. It can also be very associative and experimental, like Chris Marker, but you have a way to tell the story and you have to find it out.
According to your long experience before 2010 as applicant, and then being in different positions as well as in the board of management, which is more or less the percentage of projects that are applying already with the media development support already on board, and the ones that they were trying, as I usually advise in my desk, to apply to sources in order to reinforce the value of the content in order to be stronger when they apply to media. Which is the percentage?
It's difficult for me to. I don't have the data, but general, I would say maybe 5 to 10% of the projects that are applied have it, but it's not necessary. So don't be afraid if you don't have any funding, but you have a great story. Just apply. You know, this is like we don't want to be gatekeepers. There are enough out there in the industry, so it's a safe place. That's why I like sources so much. So we just take care of you as a writer, directors, and if we manage together to make your story strong, you will be safe out there too.
I have
maybe if you want. Yeah, sorry.
I have a question. I have a question right now about the method. It's Antonio Masse is saying, how long is the team work usually?
You mean like during the workshop week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Normally we start at 9:30 till 1:30, have a lunch break, and then in the afternoon we work till 6:30, and then there is a break, and then there is dinner, and then there is a lot of times there is a before dinner. Sometimes there is a lecture, one external guest, for example, a filmmaker, or after lunch, after dinner, there is a screening of a film, or maybe a regional filmmaker, and then the filmmaker is there and gives a session, for example. Yeah, it's different. It's also possible. We have also wide screenings in the evenings where the participants can show their own films to each other, short films, long films, whatever. Sometimes if we are 1 week somewhere, there will also an afternoon, whatever, excursion to the local film industry or the landscape and so on. So it's kind of, we try to make it open, you know. When we are, for example, in the North camp, in a film camp in Norway, it's a very interesting place. It's normally the workshop is in June, so it's a time where it doesn't get dark. So it's for us normal people coming from south or middle of Europe, that's an experience. So we do also this kind of stuff to go around to see, understand the culture, and maybe it influences also your thinking.
I would love to make the same question as Antonio proposed to one of the participants that I'm sure that it was last year, and we decide to ask her her opinion. And now it's time to hear in this time of vacation to the special guest appearance of Eva Pauné. Eva Pauné participated with she's scriptwriter and development producer from CineDoc, Cine, and she participated with the project Each of Us of Alena Productions that received media support. And we ask, what do you think, Eva, about sources? And the opinion, it's here.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Arash. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this session to talk about sources too. I only have good things to say about the program, which I attended on April 2018, together with my co-writer Miriam Ziegler, to develop our script project of us. Firstly, I have to say that the energy that was created during the program, it's not easy to describe. Our mentor and our work group were some of the most talented and generous people we ever encountered. And thanks to them, we probably learned more in a week than in many years before. For 7 days, our only concern was to make our stories and the stories of our classmates grow, so we could really focus and get into a very deep level of analysis and regarding the structure and the characters. And even during lunch and dinner time, we were so into our projects that the conversations kept going and going. And finally, we ended up feeling that every project was like our own project. You really get committed and attached. I remember that we used to joke that in sources we unlocked something like next level of the screenwriter's life, like in video games, because we really reached like a creativity flow that was unknown for us before. I guess that looking yourself up in a castle in the middle of Brandenburg to only talk about stories for 1 week has this effect on you. Well, after the intensive program, you go back home and it's not hard to keep the motivation up because you have 2 months to work in the project and later you will have a follow-up session with the group and you don't really want to let them down. So you are working really hard and then it's really interesting to see how the projects evolve, no? And also it's interesting to learn how other screenwriters work in a more long-term process. Well, apart from the obvious benefits that Sources to brought to our screenplay, I think it's also important to point out that this feeling of comradeship, of camaradería that was created in the training, I really did not find it anywhere else. It's like you make real connections there with amazing writers and producers from all over Europe that become your friends, and maybe they will become your film partners in the future. So it's not only the screenwriting sections themselves, but the world of possibilities that open up there for your project and your life that make this program so valuable. In our case, for example, after attending the training, the project each of us got awarded with a media development fund and got selected in Les Arcs, Co-Production Village, and Berlinale Talent Project Market. We always say that Sources 2 was kind of our good luck charm. So I really, really recommend it. I think every filmmaker should do it at least once in their lives. I know people who did it 4 times already, so I guess that that's meaningful, no? And me personally, I would like to come back for sure in the future. So yes, I guess that's everything I have to say about Sources, and I hope this could be useful for some of you who are looking for tools to develop your project. Thank you so much, and I would like to send a big hug for everyone.
Thank you, Eva, for having time to be with us. Those 5 minutes, bringing your opinion. I translate for you, Arash, a key word that she mentioned in Spanish, camaradería, that more or less is brotherhood, sisterhood, that you are developing with the colleagues in this collaborative work in intensive, very intensive, according to the timetable that you explained. So we move on
I
now.
maybe want to say
Yeah.
maybe some small data. So there are more than 180 films developed through sources that has been made today, and the workshop events have been held in 30 European countries with like around 2,500 alumni so far from 42 nations. And maybe some of the like films or recent films that have been finished. I'm just talking about like one, for example, half sister Slovenian film, Belgian film called Cleo, Romanian film Zavera, Mater, Serbian, Croatian film. These are films from 2019. Also Solo, which was in Cannes, Born in Evin, which was at the Berlinale. Family Practice from Switzerland. Then there is Vadio, a film, a Portuguese film, and so on. There is Saf, a film that I worked on with a Turkish director, which was at Toronto Film Festival. Yeah, so Girl is a very famous film that by Lucas Don't, which was also developed through sources and won the Camera d'Or in Cannes. So there are great films. You can check the details on the website of sources.
Yeah, I remember perfectly the last one you mentioned, because Lucas Don't was a special activity that we made between among the offices in Spain with Desk Andalusia, Desk Basque Country, Desk Spain, and ourselves, inviting for a lecture Lucas Don't with just one work, and he was right there for the EFA Awards, and was really amazing, the experience, having him giving the lecture, really generous, because it's part of the package of things that sources are offering. But now we move like we are in a table of script writers, and we erase and we go to a different concept. It's like another type of training course that it's supported by media under Sources brand, because Sources is a brand already after 26 years, it's the training for mentors. And this is very specific because, I mean, there is a lot of training initiatives with different methods, working on the field of script development, but there are very few that they are taking care about that type of people specialized to give advice, consulting, mentorship, guidance to projects. And it's a very wide spectrum of people. So, Arash, tell us, what
Yeah.
about that incredible opportunity?
I must say, I'm an extreme big fan of this workshop. If I could, I would apply myself and take part of it, because for me, it's we really worked hard on this workshop in the last years to develop every little bit of it, change it, we permanently evaluate and try to make it better and better. And in my point of view, there is no workshop like this out there. So as you said, it's a workshop for people who are working as dramatic advisors, for people who are sitting in film funds as a decision makers, for people who are commissioning editors in TV stations, but also for people who are working in the industry or who want to work more as dramaturgical advisors. And as we all know, every script is connected to a human being, and we writers, directors, whatever, are extremely sensitive about our material, about our work. And a lot of times you sit there and work for years on something till you allow yourself to show it to someone, and then you show it to someone, and if this person is not sensitive enough and and doesn't know how to deal, how to talk, how to mm, work with critics, what words to choose, person can ruin the life or the career or the motivation of the writer. So that's why this workshop, I think, is very important, because what we do there is we have three different groups. So far, we had one group that was working on feedback on synopsis, one group that was working on feedback on treatments, and one group that was working on feedback for scripts. You get a script or treatment or different synopsis before you come to the workshop. You prepare yourself, you come, and then you have half-day sessions with each of the advisors on these things. So you have a circle. You're after the workshop, you went through all of these different groups and got feedback. So now for the next workshop, the cat is here, by the way.
Hello, Minu. Welcome. Hello, Minu.
So by the end of the workshop, you will get feedback also from the other colleagues who are professionals. And we share the experiences, and we talk about the worst things that happen to us and the best things that happen to us and how we can learn from that. And structurally, it's like this, that the workshop, there is also a session in the workshop which we call a fishbowl, which is a real live advising session. And so far, it was a project that I brought in as a writer. For example, I come in, for example, with a treatment. Then on the first day of the workshop, we have Paul Taylor in the workshop. He's an advisor who developed his own method to work with um, Lego stones. He comes with 8 kilo of Lego in a basket, puts it on a table, and then I sit in front of him and he asks me questions. So he makes a constellation of my story, of the basic elements of my story on the table, and everyone is sitting around and watching. And he asks questions like, take one stone that symbolizes your main character, and you choose a Lego. Take one stone that symbolizes your main conflict and puts it there, and so on. So through this very different way of thinking on and of analyzing, I understand as a writer different things, and the viewers understand different things. And then this fishbowl session continues during the workshop with 2 more sessions. I, as a writer, sit again in a room, and everyone can sit around and observe a real session that I have with one of the other advisors. So I sit there 1.5 hours, and the advisor has with me a real session about the script that we never talked about before. Also, the two advisors who will give me this session are not allowed to talk to each other about the script. They also talk to me before. So before the workshop, they get the treatment or the script, they read it, they prepare as they would meet a real person. And then the audience of the workshop sits there and listens to 2+ the session of with the Legos, to 3 different approaches to script feedback. That's very interesting, and you never are allowed to see that, because normally when I work with as a dramaturg with an author, maybe the producer is allowed to be there, but no one else. So here we have real sessions. People observe, people see how one advisor deals with the questions and deals with the author, and another advisor like this. And I think this way you learn about a lot of different methods, how to deal with people, and so on. And what we change now from the next workshop is that we have still 3 different groups, but one group is dealing with the script, a fiction cinema film. One group is dealing with documentary, and one group is dealing with a series, with a 4-part, 5-part series feedback. So we're kind of, because series are becoming more and more important, we're kind of also offering that in the future.
I've been absolutely, it's really interesting. I would love to attend, because you mentioned about how authors are been working, and they're really sensitive to hear the opinions and how the opinion is delivered based on what. But on the script writing workshop, you bringing your script, you bringing your treatment, and you bringing your CV, saying that you are a scriptwriter. In order to apply to a training for mentors, what qualifies me as someone, as decision maker, consultant, advisor, trainer, in that world? What makes me think, if I am just a writer, that I can be in the other side giving an opinion? That's which is the difference when you are selecting the applicants? Because it's a common question. It's a common question. Everyone likes to give the advice, because everyone wants to work in a trust environment where everything is feedback. But here there is an application. What qualifies me?
Yeah, you know, like one of our goals as a media project is to help people help others. So in this sense, when we are choosing, first of all, you apply with your CV and you apply with your motivation, with the motivation letter. And that motivation letter is very important, because we want to understand why you want to do that. If you say, I'm a producer, I would like to learn, I'm working on these 2 projects in my company, and I want to be able to give better feedback to them, I would say your chances to be selected are not extremely high, because it's not meant to be for singular producers who are working on 1 or 2 projects. It's more, if you would say, I'm a producer, I worked for several years on different films, now I want to be a freelance dramatic advisor, because I realized that I have good talent in that and people come to me and so on, then this would be someone that we would choose, for example. Or you're a commissioning editor, you're a young commissioning editor, you want to be able to give good feedback, this is also possible. Or you are an older commissioning editor and you want to be freshened up, it's also possible. So we had different kind of, for example, extremely experienced people there who had their own method. And then when they came, we made some kind of tests. For example, I do sometimes some role play in my group. I get out of the room and come in and pretend to be a very inexperienced author. Or one time I'm coming inside the room and trying to be a very arrogant author, and so on. So I'm trying to play all these things that we all experience in real life and try to see how they react. And sometimes those who are very experienced reacted very badly. because they thought, you know, like they know it all, and they treated me as a fake person, disrespectful. Some of them haven't read the treatment that I came theoretically with. Some of them told me this will never be made, and then later I proved them that the film had been made, and so on and so on, and got a lot of awards. So, you know, like this kind of stuff. So our main goal is to invite people who want to give something back to the industry and not to singular projects.
Now, a question that always I'm asking about when you're applying for any call of support or training initiative and how to approach it's do's and don'ts in general to approach the brand of Sources. You mentioned that Sources it's as well open for those projects not so called commercial directly. They give a window, which is it's quite nice, but which should be the do's and don'ts when you are applying to a call of Sources? I give you a hint. Audience. Do you think that directly you have to put that it's a project that you've been thinking a lot about your audience, or instead audience is not quite important? It's a kind of a do and don't, or commercially or not commercially.
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, I think audience, of course, audience is important, and we have to take care of that. But audience is not everything. And I think nowadays, in a time where audience is theoretically everywhere, not only in your local cinema because it's closed, it's everywhere in the world out there. Everyone who has internet connection is your audience. We should redefine expression of audience or the definition of audience. So nowadays it's going to be more and more possible. I just had recently at Cannes Marché a session about how we can use artificial intelligence to get to our audience. That's the way Netflix and other big players are using that, you know, to understand this. And I personally believe that we are moving into a time that we can get big audiences if we use these kind of tools to find them. It's possible that I develop a film where my local audience might not go to the cinema, but you maybe somewhere in Spain, in a small city, there are a lot of people who exactly are interested in that topic. So, and this all over the world. So that's why it's not so easy to say, to define nowadays, this is an audience film or not, because you can also make a film that is with a lower budget and has less risk and can regionally reach much more audience than you would gain with a big budget, I don't know, 4 or 5 million euro film that has much more, you know, risk in it and so on. So we're thinking about it, but we're not developing films for a specific audience. What we do is we want the filmmakers, the writers, to be aware of what they are doing. That's the big thing. If I'm aware that I'm making a hardcore art house film that might be in one of the big festivals, but will not be watched in a cinema by a lot of people, and I am aware of that and I'm okay with that, that's fine. If I want to make a very commercial comedy, and there are a lot of art house elements in it, probably the commercial audience will not like that. And we will talk about it to the person, we will point that out, but we would never tell the person, take these elements out. We just want them to be aware of what they're doing intentionally, and that's it. So there are, yeah. Anyway.
No, it's this is your time. You are my star. It's
just.
It brings me to another question that because it's you mentioned this intensive that they are going to be the groups are going to be close. They are sharing the experience in both training courses. Actually, there are 3 training courses because in the script, the development script, they have 2 possibilities. The one called compact, it's slightly reduced, and the extended. It's, let's say that you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 1 day, 2 days less, and quite different.
More, no side.
Yeah.
But
But
like side sessions.
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
but in any case, all those details I will not go further, because once again you can ask any questions to all the network of desk, media desk around Europe, or go directly to the website of sources.com, where you can find all the information. No, the question I was going to ask you is, since, and this is the I am obliged to ask you, under COVID-19, how is going to change that switch online, not having, at least during the next months, that physical contact, sharing the same space, sharing the same creative space, how you can recreate that connection of a group online?
We will see, but because we postponed 2 workshops that were supposed to be in the last months to fall, and if it's possible, they will not be online.
Good.
If not, then they will be online. So my experience in the last months, not with sources workshops because we didn't have them now, but with other workshops, was that in a way, sometimes a digital workshop is even more concentrated. It's more doable because people don't have to travel. It's better for the environment. It's better for yourself. It's easier to have 4 or 5 days, 4 or 5 hours free when you're maybe at home, than to take 1 week off from your whole work and so on. So that is one thing that I think it's easier. I had workshops that in former years I had maybe 4 or 5 participants. This time I had 15 participants because everyone could join. And then the thing is that with sources, the network is not a one-time thing. You have the first workshop, then you have a follow-up workshop. You are maybe meeting in festivals, hopefully again. You are meeting here and there. You are working on other projects and so on. So physical contact and so on will come back. I'm not worried about that. We just have to be patient and keep distance the next months, and hope that next year we have a vaccine and get rid of this thing.
Yes, we'll see. Everything is to be written yet. Because as we did with Eva, we thought about one person that is been already doing the training for mentors. And now it's time, as we did with Eva, to bring Pau Subirós, a special guest appearance this morning, because Pau was in that training course. So we need to hear his opinion. Welcome to Pau Subirós, writer and director. Pau.
Hi, good morning, Alex and Arash. Nice to meet you again. And if it's you're only on a computer screen. Well, about the Mentors training program, I have to say it was very important for me to participate in that course. I think I took it 3 years ago, and by then I had already been doing a lot of jobs as a script editor or as a producer of film projects or working with students, and I already had this feeling that in order to do that job, you need to have an understanding of script writing and filmmaking in general, but you especially need to have an understanding of how to deal with people, and especially how to deal with somebody who's trying to create something, and therefore a lot of times he or she's struggling with insecurities, with a lot of self-doubt sometimes, and it is very important that you can provide that person with the confidence to go on, no? So I felt that this job of script editing or mentoring a project had to do a lot with this element of dealing with people, but I didn't have any formal training on that aspect. And so that was what really motivated me to try to find a program in which I could develop a little bit, a better understanding of how this could be done, some methodologies, some tools to do that sort of approach, of personal approach. And that's basically what I found in Sources program. I remember very much an idea that Luis Gog, one of the trainers there, discussed a lot with her about this idea of inside versus outside work. Inside being the kind of position that usually have the screenwriter himself or the director of a project that is completely immersed on the project, and outside being this sort of outside view that somebody can give. And as a script editor, you really need to have one foot on each of these perspectives, and you need to travel between the inside and the outside all the time. And learning about discussing these sort of ideas with other people, with the trainers there, really helped me to develop a better understanding of what should be good script editing or good mentoring. And that was basically my goal when I decided to go to participate in this program, and that's basically what the program helped me develop. So I thank you for that, and I just hope it continues for a long time, and also I hope that other initiatives of the same sort can develop, because there are not many programs of that kind, and however, there's a very strong need of script editing people, of people who can be good development executives, and therefore I think, well, I congratulate you for the initiative, and I think there will be more in the future. Okay, nice to see you again, and hope to see you soon, maybe in a bar or in a less virtual place. Okay, goodbye.
Thank you, Pau, for having time to be with us this morning and with your. What do you think, Arash, about that comment? That I think it's very nice. The transition between inside and outside, and understanding people. It's that the key point of that psychology, that kind of a psychology development in how to deliver the message.
Definitely. I think it's a lot about that, and that comes to the point of learning to get rid of your ego. We all have our egos, and it's okay, but there is a point in life we should get rid of them and refresh ourselves, rethink, reset. And that's why I was saying that this workshop, this mentors workshop, is a lot of times a place to get humble again and to understand that we don't know anything and we have to reset everything, because every human being is different, every script is different, and we cannot put formulas on that. That's, I would say, really the main thing of Sources. We don't want to put formulas on scripts. We don't want to streamline them. It's possible that we use a method that is there, but it's always unique experience. And this inside outside is very important, because that's our main thing. When we are judging scripts, a lot of times it's not about our taste. That is very important, that we understand we have to get rid of our taste when we are judging something. We have to understand what the author, writer wants, and then support that from the back, and not say, okay, this is not a good film or whatever. I tell you how it should be and tell our version of the film, because then all films would be the same. That's not the point. We need to nourish the specific cultural background that every script has, every story has, background of that person who is writing it, the personal experience of that person, the traumas of that person, the happiness of that person, and use all these elements that is unique to that person and to that script and work on it. And it's possible that you have a script in your hand where there is only one scene that is exceptional and you like. The rest you would maybe throw away. Our goal is in such a case not to say to the person, can you throw away the rest? This is a bad script. There is only one good script. We would concentrate on that one singular scene that is exceptional and try to find out what is this scene? Why is this scene so exceptional? And maybe all the rest were compromises that the writer made. Maybe this only first one scene is what is the uniqueness of that writer, and then let's work on that all the rest of the scenes are like this one scene.
Arash, we are almost finishing, and I have a question that always it's a kind of a cherry on top, kind of a sniper, but it's I am really curious. Can you mention a movie really recent with that been attending to a sources training course that could be or already is in a mainstream platform?
Let me
or TV series or documentary probably is much easier.
I'm just going through the list of the films. I don't know all of them. Difficult to say.
I didn't want to put you in trouble with a cherry on top question. It's just the goal of my question is to break the idea that sources it's only art house movies. That's wrong, because one of the common questions that we are is like, oh, I am commercially intended, I am thinking about my audience, I am planning to go to a mainstream platform, so I shouldn't go to sources because it's art house. And we are trying to tell them, no, it's about the method, it's about the content, as you mentioned, it's what you know about your project. That's why I was trying to show that yes, there is a successful movie in a platform, mainstream.
There is, I mean, the thing is that I don't know all the films that have been finished because I didn't develop all of them, but I know that there are several genre films that have been made. One film that I worked on myself on is called Cops. It's a police action drama, which is really commercial, but also very good. It won at FIFA the main award. We just had a horror film from Norway that got commissioned and got the funding. We have comedies, local, regional comedies, whatever we have. So I would say maybe 50% are art house or 60% sometimes, but this is not our like our choice. We don't choose the films that are art house films. You apply with a story and you want to improve that story, no matter what it is, we will work on that story. And we love to get more genre applications, and also we are kind of not a specific series workshop we get, like we don't work so much on series yet. We want to push that, but it's more about storytelling. And whatever you do, if you make a web series, or if you make a 5-minute web series, or if you make something else, everyone will tell you the most important things are 3 things: story, story, story. And that's it. So no matter what kind of genre you have.
So our time this morning is up. Thank you so much. Thank you, Eva Pauné, for bringing her voice, as well Pau Subirós. Don't forget, he was the talent behind Neus Ballús on that successful project, The Plague, that went so many places with media support. And thank you, Arash, with different positions, for having time to be with us this morning and bringing light. Do not forget that the deadlines are open for the spring and summer 2021. for all those training courses. Find information in the website of Sources or address your questions to your local desks. Thank you so much, Arash, and see you soon, I hope, not through a screen. All right? Thank you.
I hope so.
Bye.
Bye. Thank
Have
you,
a nice
everyone.
day.
Bye.
Y bueno, si os ha interesado la sesión de Arash, permitidme que os recuerde algunas ideas motoras que nos ha dicho. Para la primera parte del curso, la que se refiere a el desarrollo de guión, pues algunas palabras mágicas, que es todo consiste en método, que el guión no debe estar en un estadio muy inicial, que los guiones no deben estar muy definidos, que todo debe estar abierto. El concepto de camaradería que reforzaba también Eva Pauné, de trabajar en un espacio colaborativo. Y respecto al curso de mentoring, ha dicho varias cosas interesantes. La última es historia, es importante. Pero a mí me gustaría hacer un highlight respecto a que lo más importante es ayudar a que el autor sepa qué es lo que quiere, ayudarle a conseguir lo que quiere independientemente de tu gusto personal como advisor o trainer o consultor o commissioning editor. Independientemente, bajar los egos. Y sobre todo una frase muy bonita, todo guión está conectado a un ser humano, que me parece hasta poético. Hasta aquí la sesión de Sources con Arash T. Y si os ha gustado, pues repasemos lo que hicimos en el capítulo anterior. En el capítulo anterior tuvimos el 19 de junio, creo. Elena Mackenzie estuvo con nosotros promocionando el Co-Production London Film Market y las oportunidades también de UK en este nuevo rol of europeo y con COVID de UK. Y ahora una primicia, las oficinas Europa Creativa Media en España, mis compañeros Victoria, Ainhoa, Peter y nuestro equipo, preparamos actividad online que no deberíais perderos, muy interesante, para el lunes 22 en San Sebastián. Están, como se dice, stay tuned a sus pantallas y os daremos más información. Y ahora sí, la promoción de la próxima actividad está bajo el paraguas de la Atlántida Film Fest. Peter Andermatt, desde la oficina Media España y nosotros, oficina Media Catalunya, participamos en el Talent Lab, que es la parte profesional de proyectos que están en preparación, que acoge el equipo de Atlántida Film Fest y Filming. Un festival que no debéis perderos, que ya ha lanzado programación, ayer mismo lo hizo, y que estaremos el próximo día 27 de julio a las 10, de 10 a 11, en abierto, Peter y yo, explicándoos cómo hacer un pitch perfecto en 6 pasos. Y obviamente, entre otros en la audiencia, con los equipos seleccionados, 7 equipos, que entre otros monitores, otros tutores, tienen a Miguel Machalski, que por cierto también es mentor y trainer de Sources 2. Hasta aquí. Si os ha gustado, os suscribís al canal y nos vemos en la siguiente actividad. Gracias. Hasta la próxima.